Hey everybody, welcome back to Young Engineers of Today. I'm glad you saw the notification on Edmodo, and I hope you had a good weekend. Did you guys do anything particularly interesting? Hey Liam, any crazy stories from the weekend? Um, oh, it was the link to this. Yeah, what message? I knew that. There actually wouldn't be a way you'd be able to join if you hadn't gotten that. So I don't know why. Anyway, nice, Grandfather Mountain, awesome. Hey, I'm glad to see you made it. I'm pretty sure I've gone to Grandfather Mountain before. I know I went to a mountain in the Charlotte area. I'm reasonably certain it was Grandfather Mountain. It's a pretty neat place. Okay. What's going on with yours, Kevin? You don't you don't know. Well, I mean, is it not running? Is it okay. Does it have a message that pops up? How's it going, Timothy? Nothing's wrong with processing. We're moving on from processing starting today. Um, And actually, in light of that, let's take a look at that at the end of class, Gavin, so that we've got time. Oh, I just got a question related to processing. That's all. Array index out of range by 1. Hmm. Interesting. I don't think anything actually uses an array in processing. Well, like I said, we'll take a look at it at the end of class, Gavin. In the meantime, we're going to get started on a new subject, one which will be terrible interessant, hopefully. We are going to introduce you guys to CAD programs. CAD programs, well, CAD stands for Computer Assisted Design. with a D. Although I do have a cat. Um, Computer Assisted Design. Basically, what it is it is a way for. Nice. Well, hopefully he's a more relaxed cat than mine is. Mine can be pretty relaxed, but then there are times when he freaks out. But anyway, have you guys ever tried to make something with? Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the club then. Or thought about making something, or wanted to make something in 3D graphics? Like maybe you wanted to make a design for, I don't know, something, or you wanted to make a spaceship for a game, or you wanted to make. No, this doesn't really involve any coding at all. Um, I know, I know. Well, we try and cover a wide variety of subjects, so we'll get back to it. Um, I'm sure we'll do something that's coding later on in the semester. That's, maybe not processing, but something else. Besides, you guys might like this too. Who knows? Don't don't judge it. Don't knock it till you've tried it. It's not going to be AutoCAD. AutoCAD is, well, A, it's very much not free. It's a very expensive program, and B, it's a very very technical program. It's not going to be SketchUp either. Yeah, it is in fact going to be TinkerCAD. Um, SketchUp is free, but okay, so there's sort of AutoCAD. Generally, you get a license for multiple people, and it's on the order of thousands of dollars. It might be um, certainly hundreds of dollars for a single person. Yeah, TinkerCAD. It's called TinkerCAD. It's a free program. And the thing to understand is that CAD programs generally fall in sort of a spectrum. You've got, on the one hand, you've got very, very sort of engineering-based CAD programs. And on the other hand, you've got very, very artistically based CAD programs. Artistically based CAD programs can be like ZBrush or Sculpt or something like that, where you might be able to create a very like free-form and kind of natural-looking like character model, like a person's head or something like that, or a piece of landscape or something. And well, it's much more artistically based. Again, it's sort of like you start with material, maybe you shave some away from it, like sculpting, hence the name sculpt, um, and you make something that's very detailed and very like artistically inclined. Um, TinkerCAD, there's nothing to install. It's all online. We'll get to it in a moment. Um, on the other hand, engineering-based CAD programs are very uh, very numbers oriented. You have to say like this piece is this many, centimeters away from this piece, and this piece slots into this piece like this, and then the hole on this piece is, this many centimeters by this many centimeters, or maybe it's millimeters by millimeters, or inches by inches, whatever. And this thing has a diameter of so many centimeters, and then this is so many centimeters away from this, and everything has to be measured out. It's very strict in its like sort of in its requirement that everything is very well dimensioned. And it's for people who want to make technical things, like maybe you could still design like a car in it, but that's going to be it's going to be a very technical look at that car, like the dimensions of everything on the car, and how everything fits together. And that would be a very long process too, to model an entire car in a CAD program. But regardless, most CAD programs fall somewhere on that spectrum. They're not necessarily going to be at one end or the other, but they're going to fall somewhere in the middle. TinkerCAD is one such program. It doesn't have as much, as many strict requirements as, like SketchUp or AutoCAD or SolidWorks or something like that. And it's certainly more sort of process-based than the artistic side of CAD software as well. Yes, we're getting there, Gavin. We're getting there. The main thing to keep in mind is it's very easy to use. It's free. It's a good introduction to CAD software, and you can still do a lot with it. It's a good starting place. So if you guys could go to tinkercad.com, preferably on Chrome, at least the last time we were using this. In the past, like Firefox hasn't really cooperated with it. Whoops. Did that? Okay. There we go. Firefox hasn't really cooperated with it. Safari's had a little bit of trouble with it. Um, Internet Explorer certainly would just never in your wildest dreams run it. So we've had the most luck with Chrome. You're more than welcome to try it in Safari, although just keep in mind that you might run into issues. And if you main like Firefox or for some reason Opera, you could certainly try it, but you might be better off running it in something like Chrome, just because it's, I guess, the plugins that Chrome runs uh, and the extensions and everything like that are more compatible with it. So you go to TinkerCAD.com. This is sort of this stuff in the middle here is just some examples of stuff you can make with TinkerCAD. But over here on the right-hand side, you're going to want to either sign in or sign up. Obviously, sign in if you already have a username, or sign up if you don't. I already have a username, so I'm going to sign in. Eventually. Here we go. And then it will think about things while it gets me logged in, or it tells me that my password is incorrect. One of the two. There we go. I'll have it remember me. As you can see, I've got a few projects here already from, well, really past stuff. But for those of you who are just signing up, this is going to be a lot more bare. And that's just because, you guys haven't created anything. Yeah, the Afro Penguin. It's coming up with something different. Do you mind expanding upon that a little bit? Is it a different window, or does it say different things on it? If so, what does it say? Because it's going to look a little bit different from mine. Because again, I've used TinkerCAD. It's on the program already. Okay, so it's just probably because it's your first project, it's automatically taken you to the design window. Does it look like this, Liam? It's completely different. So, okay, so what are you looking at? That's I'm not going to be able to follow that link, Gavin, because it's set up for individual sessions. So I would get something different, or I would get, you can't follow this link. Liam, I'm not entirely sure what you're looking at, other than the fact that it's different. Um, do you see like a create new project or create new design button anywhere? Okay, no worries, Sam. So what exactly are you looking at? Help me out so I can help you navigate this window. It's blue and it's asking you to connect a 3D printer. Is there any sort of cancel button on that window at all? Do you have any sort of buttons at all? Anything you can click on? Can you click away from the window? There's a search button inside of the window. And that's probably to search for the 3D printer that they're talking about. What browser are you using, Liam? That's a search engine, Gavin. But thank you, that was very helpful. I'm sure you already knew that anyway. Yeah. Okay, so you are using Chrome. Is there anything else on that window? Is there any other features? Is it just... Hey, Gavin. Sorry, just trying to troubleshoot this. Oh, okay, gotcha. It might have cut out. My internet hasn't been fantastic today. There's a button that says "Inquire about this domain." Okay, on the website or on the Chrome window? On the website. Okay. Did you click the link that I put in chat? In order to get to TinkerCAD's website? Okay. Okay, good. And it's... Oh, you had to scroll 2 pages. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay, so hopefully at this point you guys have, like created a new username or something to that effect and gotten signed in. And you might be looking at, again, something that looks kind of like not this, but this, just with fewer stuff, less stuff here, fewer things, fewer stuff. Good Lord. This is your dashboard, where it contains all of your designs that you've created ever. In this case, I have a few more designs because I've taught this in the past. But anyway, things are a little bit different, but no big deal. It's really easy to create a new design. Just all you have to do is there's this blue button right here, Create New Design. Just go ahead and click on that. And we'll spend a little bit of time going through the controls for TinkerCAD. And then we're going to spend some time doing like some of the tutorial lessons and stuff like that. I know it'll be super exciting, but you guys will be pretty familiar with TinkerCAD by the end of this. You made a Pokeball already. Oh, fantastic. Well, this is going along with one of the lessons, but anyway, let's just do this. Okay, so controlling your view is pretty easy. Just using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, just like you would, and it behaves exactly like you would expect it to. If you click the mouse wheel in, you can pan everything, move it to the left or the right or up or down or whatever, so you can look at it from a different angle. And then if you hold down the right mouse button and move the mouse around, you can rotate it in whatever direction you'd like. If you're on a Mac, you should still be able to right click by holding down both fingers if you have like a trackpad or something like that. But yeah, that is real basic, just the way you navigate the TinkerCAD window. You can click this little home button here in the little navigation bar in order to sort of bring you back to a neutral position. Like I can click it and boom, I'm right back there. Go like this, and it will find its way back. In a very dramatic way too. And then you'll notice on the right-hand side over here, we got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got favorites, imports, shape generators, helpers, Tinkerplay, geometric, holes, letters, numbers, symbols, extras, blah, 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 blah. TinkerCAD is basically all about combining different shapes, taking simpler shapes and combining them in multiple different ways, and that can include like removing parts of shapes with other shapes, and you'll see what I mean later on. But doing this sort of combining deal in order to create a more complex design. So to that end, adding a new shape is ridiculously simple. All I have to do is just select one of these. In this case, I'll select the cylinder, hold down the left mouse button, and drag it over here. And look at that, I have like this little ghost of it. And if I let go of the left mouse button, it's been placed. And that is the beginning of creating a new design. Now, we can modify this. If you'll see, when I'm not rotating, we've got these little squares and this little triangle and then these little arrows along the side and stuff like that. We can use these to modify the shape itself. So if I drag one of these corners, I can make the cylinder, either wider or thinner or, more oblong or more of a circle or whatever. I can mess around with it until I've got something that I like. So we'll make this 50 by 50. There, so now we have a perfectly circular, how do you create a project? There should be a blue button on the dashboard that says Create New Design. And that should be what you need to click on in order to create a new design. But yeah, I can click on these, click and drag these other, little cubes in order to mess around with it. I can click this in order to click and drag this in order to actually move the cylinder up and down vertically, not extend it up and down vertically, but actually move it up and down vertically. And you'll notice that there's a number that appears next to it: 25 millimeters, 28 millimeters, 33 millimeters, 6 millimeters. This is the distance that it's been moved since we clicked and held down. Where do you go? It should take you to the dashboard after you create a username and log in. Alternatively, you can click on the little 9-box TinkerCAD icon, and that should take you to your dashboard as well after you've logged in. And then from the dashboard, you can click on Create New Design. But yeah, anyway, the numbers represent how far you've moved or changed the size of the object since you've, like since I started to click and drag this triangle. So I can bring it back down so that it disappears, which means that I haven't moved it at all. Or I can bring it up and notice that I've moved it 24 millimeters up. I can bring it down. I've moved it negative 38 millimeters up, which is, 38 millimeters down. Whatever the case may be. And then finally, these arrows allow us to rotate the shape, which can be useful in case you want to take a chunk out of it. In an unusual way, like if you want to create the shape and then have it be sort of like a cylinder on its side and then mess around with it like that, then you can totally do that. So I'm going to bring it back 45 degrees, perfect. You also might notice that it tends to snap as well up to a point, and then it will give you better control over exactly how far you want to rotate it. So we'll bring it back. Perfect. Excellent. But that's just sort of a basic look into how it is controlled and how you do different stuff in TinkerCAD. Very, very basic look at it. Now, there's some other stuff we can do, like let's go ahead and go back to TinkerCAD. And I'm going to go to the Learn side of things. I recommend you guys check out the Learn tab at some points. You don't necessarily have to do it right now, but we can go over it at some point. Or you can go over it at some point so that you can get an idea of some of the stuff that TinkerCAD can do. Now, we've already gone over how to control the camera. We know how to move the camera, the right mouse button and the mouse wheel and stuff like that. We know how to bring on shapes, so we don't need to do that lesson either. But here's one of the other things you can do with TinkerCAD. So you'll notice that this is just a more complex shape that was created with all the stuff at your disposal in TinkerCAD. It looks like, a lot more, but it's actually, once you get more familiar with TinkerCAD, you can take apart all of the individual shapes which make up this little wrench. It's all just about, like, if we wanted to, we could attach a box to this and merge them, and then that would become part of the design. We could make the box smaller, and then like embed it right there. And if we needed to, we'd have like I don't know, you could convince somebody that it's the torque box on the wrench, and without it, the wrench has no torque. You need the torque box in order for the wrench to work. It'd be a good way to mess with somebody, I suppose. There we go. Put it in there. Extend it upwards. Nope, wrong thing. Extend it upwards, not lift it upwards. And that would be our torque box. Anyway, you can combine shapes with TinkerCAD, but you can also combine shapes in a slightly different way. So let's say we have this hexagonal prism, right? See how it's sitting right there. This still doesn't look like much of a wrench, especially because if we pull this away, this is just a straight up cylinder right here. That's the cylinder that we used, right? It's just kind of flat and wide, but that's not very wrench-like. So let's take this hexagonal prism and let's move it to the area it tells us to move it to. Why would we do that? So we've got this selected. This inspector appears up here, right? We can change the color of it. We can turn it into that color. We can turn it into a nice purple color. You can turn it into a pink color. We can click this little lock right here, the one that's labeled lock transformation, and that way we can ensure that the prism won't move anywhere. So like I can move it, woo woo woo, or I can click this, and now as much as I would like to, try as I might, I can't move the hexagon, the hexagonal prism. It's stuck in place, which can be useful for larger projects. Now, there's this other one over here labeled hole. If I click that, it turns pretty see-through and it gets like this striped design on it. Well, let's see what that does. So we got that. Cool. It's got a, yep. Now we've got the hexagonal prism selected so far. Let's go ahead and hold down Shift and click on the wrench as well. So both are selected. Now some buttons lit up over here. We've got group and ungroup. Now group is essentially you take all of the shapes that you have selected and you turn them into one more complex shape. So that's how this wrench was created. Ungroup does the exact opposite of that. For now, let's take a look at group. We'll click it and the shapes will combine. Now, however, because this was a hole, what it's going to do is it's going to, exactly like it looks like here, it's going to take a chunk out of the wrench, and it's going to look weird because it didn't take the chunk out of the wrench exactly perfectly. But that's okay. What we can do is we can ungroup and move this a little bit more out. There, like that. Now we'll select the wrench again and group it. And as you can see, it took a chunk out of the wrench. And now we've got this little hex nut socket on the wrench. If we just got rid of that, then it would be perfect. Now it looks more, wrenchy. Whereas before we just had the cylinder here, now we actually have kind of a wrench. Let's see if we can't ungroup everything. Ungroup. That's as far as we can go with the ungrouping. But if we look over here, you can see that they actually did the same thing with the with this hole. They took a couple of it looks like hexagons. It's kind of hard to tell because they're all overlapping, but it looks like hexagons. And they turn them into, up here in the inspector, they turn them into holes. And by combining them, they ensured that some holes were created in the wrench. So let's select everything again, regroup it. And our wrench is back to normal. But that's, it doesn't seem like much of an explanation, but it should be said that TinkerCAD is very, 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 very simple. It's very easy to get used to. So let's go back to this design that we had, or that I had. And I use the term loosely. It's just a cylinder. Now let's add a box to the side. Whoop. Embed it right in the side there. So now we can group those up. And notice that they all turn into one color, and if we move it, it all moves as a group. We've added those two together. Now let's do the same thing again, for a better illustration, but let's turn this into a hole before we group them. Well, that's going to disappear, and look at that, there's a chunk taken out of the out of the cylinder, and it's exactly in the shape of the box that overlapped it. So like if we were to put a roof on this thing, we could combine everything with the group, and now it's got this weird bump on it. Alternatively, if we ungrouped it and we rotated this 180 degrees, embedded it further down in there, and turned it into a hole and ungrouped it, or whoops, grouped it. Hey, look at that. Now it's got a pyramid. It says you need approval. What do you mean? Like it in order to run the plugin? You can do the wrench. Right. What do you mean it says you need approval? Is it asking for your permission to run a plugin on the page, or is it just saying that, like, it's being blocked by some kind of firewall or something? Oh, okay, so it's got kind of like a net safety thing installed. Right. Okay, so you might want to talk to your parents about that in order to be able to get access to creating projects on TinkerCAD, because that will be helpful for future lessons. Now, granted, we aren't going to be doing like a whole lot with TinkerCAD for a long time. Mainly, it's to get you guys introduced with it and CNC machines and stuff like that, so that you can mess around and potentially create your own stuff to be made on a CNC machine. It doesn't let you group. You have everything selected? Yeah, that's the thing. It's a little bit finicky in that respect. But yeah, so like it says here, the key to building more complex shapes is learning how to combine solid and hole shapes together. So the wrench itself was created with a combination of solid and hole shapes, and then we add one more hole shape, in this case the hexagonal prism, so that we can get the hex nut bit on the end. And we already went over how to resize and move the objects. How do you make a hole? Okay, so let's say you drag an object onto your TinkerCAD in the shape of the hole you want to create. So I got my pyramid. I'll go ahead and rotate this and just kind of stick it into the side. Whoop, like so. Now, up here in the inspector, I have the pyramid selected. Up here in the inspector, we can select its color and change it, or we can click this hole button up here. And what that does is it turns it kind of transparent and gives it that stripe design. That's what we want. That's how we know it's a hole. So if we select everything and group it all together, a hole gets cut out of the cylinder, exactly where the pyramid and the cylinder intersected. And that's really all it involves. So like we can, if we really wanted to, we could work to create like a really simple house design. So we could take a box, we could stick it out there, and put a roof, and put the roof on top, make the roof a little bit bigger, and then make sure that the roof is more or less centered. Now, there are better ways to make sure that the roof is centered. So I've got the roof selected. Let's select the house too by shift clicking. Now if we go up here to adjust, there's an option called align. And you see how these dots appear around it? You've got dots here and along the bottom. Now, depending on where you click, which dot you click, it will try its best to align the shapes along that. So basically, let's get out of the align tool real quick. You notice how when I click on the box, it's got basically 6 little squares around it, 6 little cubes around it, and then it's got some vertical cubes as well. If we were to sort of think about that from a, I mean, if it's got these little cubes along the bottom, presumably it's probably got little cubes along the sides and top too. Green is not the best color for this. Let's pick blue. Let's erase all drawings. Let's try that again. Boom, boom, boom. So just like so, little, you can imagine there are little squares all around it. Well, what the align tool does, the align tool does is the align tool aligns them to those dots. So if we were to click, this one, it would take the vertical dots for both and make sure that they're lined up, which is not really something we want. So let's go ahead and unalign that. Well, we got the bottom bit aligned. So far, so far so good. Let's see if we can't get the other bit aligned. Perfect. Now we can take some smaller boxes, make them way smaller. And let's embed them. Let's make them a little bit taller. And a little bit wider. Let's embed that somewhere inside of the side of the house right here. We'll turn it into a hole. And then let's group this whole thing together. Now our house has a window. And if we wanted to, we could put another smaller box inside. Take this, and we'll take this, and we'll align them so that they are like so. Oops, I forgot to do a thing first. Turn that into a hole, and then we'll align them. And then group them. And now I got an interior to the house. You can see if I look downwards, I can see like the grid there. But the inside of this place is empty. And I made a pretty simple little house. Let's take this box, we'll sort of turn it into a door. At least visually it'll look like a door. So now I got kind of a door here. Maybe we'll stick a tiny little cylinder on it. We'll say, what could I do with this cylinder? Well, I could probably rotate it 90 degrees. Make it really, 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 really small. Oops. Group everything. And now the door has a doorknob. So that's, whoops. Pays to make sure everything's lined up. And now the house turned orange. That's okay. So that's kind of the idea behind TinkerCAD, is just taking really simple shapes and combining them in various ways in order to make more complex ones. So now we've got a house with a door. Maybe we can add a chimney to it. And group it all up. Hey, look, now it's got a chimney. Put an opening in that chimney. Are you making a TARDIS? Excellent. Yeah, that's actually a fantastic idea. I think what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time. I'll think up a project for us to do so that we can all work on it and get ourselves more familiar with TinkerCAD. If you're already familiar with it, then you can spend the time working on your own project. But if you're not, it'd be a perfect opportunity to get more comfortable with it and sort of expand your knowledge of it. Because that will be really helpful for later on when you guys are making something for something that you can make in like a CNC machine. Yeah, if you're already familiar with TinkerCAD, maybe it won't be, groundbreaking stuff for you, but at the very least, you can spend some time sort of honing your craft. So what else do you think we can add to this? Does anybody have any ideas? Or something else we can make? A lamp and a fence. All right, let's see what we can do about making a lamp. This will probably be a good lamp top. And lamp and lamp bottom. I'll see if I can't check that out in a moment. You might have to, I could be wrong, but you might have to save it as public and then there might be a separate link for that. Oh, cool. All right, excellent. So you're ahead of the curve. Never mind. Haha, just kidding. This is a super big lamp compared to the rest of this house. Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go. Move it down. Select all this stuff. Align. Make this smaller and flatter. Align. And group. There's our lamp. And then as far as like a fence is concerned, that one would be a little bit more interesting. Thank you. It would probably be very thin and something like that, 3x1. Add a roof on it. Also 3 by 1. Shorten it and put it on top. Let's make sure everything's aligned. Okay, that's all aligned. Perfect. Now let's group it. Now we can copy and paste it, move a couple of them next to each other, and then take another box, turn it flat and on its side. Like so. And then this will be the bit of fence. One more. Group everything. Now that everything's grouped, we can make it smaller as we please. And that's our bit of fence that we can then copy and paste. So look at that, super easy. Let's see what Jean-Marc made. Well, that one's loading. I'll just let you know what's going to go on in the next couple of days. I'm going to spend some time brainstorming a nice little project for us that we can all work on together. Maybe it'll be a house like this. Maybe it'll be something a little bit more exciting, like maybe we'll try and make a spaceship or something. Or who knows. Whatever the case is, I'll spend some time figuring it out. And we'll walk through your house is a pyramid? Excellent. We'll walk through the process together so we can all get familiar with TinkerCAD and comfortable with it. And then, I'll spend some time talking about CNC machines and stuff like that. Those are always kind of neato. Hopefully, it, gets you guys interested in this kind of stuff as well. I mean, because a machine that can make something from very little is always pretty cool, or can make very complex things from just blocks of metal. CNC machines are pretty cool. Anyway, like I said, I'll spend some time figuring it out. We'll have a nice little project. Hopefully this loads, because I would like to see this. Hopefully we'll have a nice little project that we can all work on together. And then by the end of it, you guys should be pretty familiar with TinkerCAD. So let me go ahead and do the poll questions. I'll keep this open, Jean-Marc, so that it can load, because I do want to see it. And then once we're done with the poll questions, if you have any questions about anything we've gone over today so far, I know it was more of a primer and introduction. We'll get more in depth in how to do stuff with TinkerCAD in the coming lessons. So if you don't feel like you're really comfortable with it so far, that's fine. You'll get there. But we'll do something with it. Otherwise, you guys are more than welcome to head out, and we'll meet again on Wednesday.